Welcome back to the sacred archetypes of the Vedic tradition. I'm Alex Rutland, and I'm honored to speak today about Shiva. Let's begin with a story. There are many stories of Shiva, but one of the most powerful is the story of the churning of the cosmic ocean. In this ancient tale, the Devas and the Asuras, the gods and the forces of ambition, power, and shadow, came together for a great task. They wanted to churn the ocean of existence in search of Amrita, the nectar of immortality. And already, we should pause right there, because this is not just a myth about gods and demons. This is a story about us. The ocean represents consciousness, it's life. It's deep and mysterious and has unseen places within us where everything is held. Our gifts and fears and desires, our grief, our wisdom, the poison and the medicine. And when we begin to churn that ocean, when we begin real inner work, when we begin yoga or meditation, self-inquiry, therapy, healing, shadow work, spiritual practice, or even just honest living, we often think the first thing to rise will be beauty, clarity, peace, purpose, or light. But that's not what always happens. In the story before the nectar appears, something terrible rises first. A deadly poison emerges from the ocean. This poison is called hala hala. It's so powerful that it threatens to destroy all of creation. The gods can't handle it. The asuras can't control it. No one knows what to do with it. And again, if we pause it there, most of us understand this story immediately, because sometimes when we begin to heal, the first thing that rises is not peace, it's pain. Our grief or anger or old shame comes up. Old patterns we thought we'd outgrown suddenly return with teeth. We start churning the ocean of our own consciousness, and before the nectar appears, the poison comes first. And this is where Shiva enters. Shiva, the great first yogi, the still one, the destroyer of illusion, sees that the poison must be dealt with. He doesn't throw it into the world, and he doesn't hand it to somebody else. He doesn't pretend it isn't there. He's not going to just send golden light to it and make it go away. And he doesn't just say, just think positive. Shiva takes the poison into himself. But here's the important part. He doesn't swallow it. He holds it in his throat. His consort, Parvati, presses her hand to his throat so the poison does not move deeper into his body. It remains there, contained. Because of this, Shiva's throat turns blue. He becomes known as Nilakantha, the blue-throated one. Now this matters, because Shiva does not drink the poison because poison is good. He doesn't absorb toxicity because he's weak. He does not take it in because he has no boundaries. He doesn't confuse suffering with holiness. He holds the poison without allowing it to destroy him. That is the teaching. Shiva represents the consciousness strong enough to witness what is toxic without becoming toxic. He's the part of us that can sit in the fire of truth without collapsing, performing, blaming, shaming, or running. He is the still center inside the storm. When we work with Shiva as an archetype, we're not trying to become cold or detached from life. We're learning how to become spacious enough to hold what arises without being ruled by it. We're asking ourselves, can I witness this pain without turning it into an identity? Can I feel this anger without becoming cruel? Can I recognize this poison without spreading it? Can I hold the truth in my throat long enough to speak from wisdom instead of reaction? Because the throat is not random in this story. Throat is the place of voice, expression, truth, and communication, the bridge between the heart and the mind. And so much of our poison comes through the throat. The words we say to ourselves that we wouldn't say to our worst enemy, the words we swallow, the truth we avoid, the apology we refuse, the boundary we never speak but expect others to intuitively know. the story we keep repeating until it becomes a prison. Shiva teaches us to pause there, to hold the poison at the throat and ask, does this need to be spoken? Does this need to be transformed? Or does it need to be released? Or am I about to pour my unprocessed pain into the world and call it truth? That is not easy work. It's much easier to spit the poison outward and blame and attack and defend, to make someone else carry what we have not yet learned how to hold. It's also easy to swallow the poison, suppress it, deny it, smile through it, pretend we're fine when the body keeps score. Shiva offers a third way. Don't spit it onto others. Don't swallow it into yourself. Hold it in consciousness until it transforms. This is not passive. This is tremendous power. In a grounded, modern, practical way, working with Shiva might look like taking a breath before you answer that text message. It might look like sitting with your own jealousy, grief, fear, or resentment long enough to understand what it's really asking of you. It might look like not dumping your nervous system onto someone you love. It might look like telling the truth, but telling it cleanly. Or it might look like choosing silence, not because you're afraid, but because you're waiting for the poison to become wisdom. It might look like saying out loud or to yourself, I need a moment, or I'm not ready to respond from clarity yet. Maybe I can feel something old being activated in me. Or how about, I want to speak the truth, but I do not want to weaponize it. That is Shiva. That is not only destruction, that is a shallow shadow reading. Shiva destroys illusion. He destroys false identity. He destroys what has become stagnant and the structures that keep consciousness trapped. He doesn't do it for drama. He clears the field so reality can be seen. He sits in meditation because not everything needs immediate action. He dances as Nataraja, because creation and destruction are not enemies. They're part of the same cosmic rhythm. He lives in the cremation ground because he's not afraid of endings. He wears ash because he knows all forms eventually dissolve. And this is where Shiva becomes deeply personal, because there comes a point in every life when we must face what is dissolving. That may be an identity, a relationship, a role, a belief, a dream, or a version of ourselves we thought we would always be. And the question becomes, can I let what is false burn away without believing that I'm being destroyed? Can I sit in the unknown without rushing to rebuild that old prison? Can I allow silence to teach me before I start performing certainty again? Shiva asks us to stop confusing chaos with transformation, because I hate to tell you, not every breakdown is liberation, and not every ending is wisdom, and certainly not every rebellion is truth. But when we meet the ending consciously, when we hold the poison without becoming it, when we let illusion dissolve without clinging to the mask, something sacred begins to happen. We become less reactive, less performative, less easily owned by fear. We become more still, more honest, more rooted in something deeper than personality. Ask yourself, what is the story of Shiva awaken in me? Where am I being asked to embody stillness instead of reaction? What poison have I been swallowing that was never meant to live inside my body? What poison have I been throwing onto others instead of transforming within myself? Where's my throat asking for truth or restraint, courage or clean expression? And what illusion in my life is ready to be destroyed, not as punishment, but as liberation? Shiva is fierce, yes, but his fierceness is quiet. It's not the loudest voice in the room. It's not the performance of power. It's not the ego dressed in spiritual language. Shiva is the mountain, the witness, the yogi, the dancer, the destroyer of illusion. The blue-throated one who teaches us that not every poison must become a wound. Some poison, held with consciousness, becomes power. Some endings, met with courage, become freedom. And some silence, entered honestly, becomes a doorway back to truth. That is Shiva, the sacred force that teaches us to be still enough to transform what would otherwise destroy us. The presence that does not fear the poison, the fire, the ending, or the dark. The consciousness that whispers, hold steady, see clearly, let the false self burn. What is real cannot be destroyed. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next session.